This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio on the Overseas Radio Network, back with my own white knight, defense attorney Juan Torres from the state of Florida, and we're talking about the U.S. injustice system. And let's start going into this issue of George Zimmerman's bond being revoked. It's been revoked. He's been ordered to turn himself in. They're saying he lied to the court, etc. This is by the same woman who admitted she lied to the court. What do you have to say about that, Juan?
If I were Marco or the defense attorney in this case, I would be seriously thinking about filing a motion to reconsider releasing him based upon the fact that the prosecution deliberately misled a court into determining what kind of arrest and or charges, because the prosecutor's free to charge whatever they believe is done, has been committed, the charge. But a judge has to sign the probable cause affidavit to arrest that person for that particular crime. In the state of Florida, their murder has several degrees, first degree, second degree, third degree, and others that warrant a prosecutor specifically on exculpatory evidence, such as here, which is the injuries to the head, to be truthful in a probable cause affidavit. And as Professor Dershowitz states in this article, she intentionally misled the court by not putting those injuries in that probable cause affidavit because they are half-truths. They're not the whole truth, like you're swearing in the affidavit. And the most important aspect is that it's really exculpatory evidence, which we call Brady material, which has to be disclosed to the defense, which should have been disclosed to the judge.
So because if it had been
ethical, I believe she's got an ethical duty to submit a truthful affidavit to the judge.
So the judge might not have allowed the charge to be as high as it was if he had all the facts.
Allowed the arrest to be exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so
and I'm sure that Zimmerman may file some sort of motion. We have to be very creative nowadays in defending individuals, because every day our rights are being whittled away and whittled away. The Fourth Amendment is basically gone, and every other amendment is being affected, constitutional amendment, being affected by the abrogations of our rights, and people in this country are not doing anything about it. They don't care. Well, this is where the innocent persons and our rights are being protected through people like Zimmerman. There is no other way to protect our rights. And I am sure that this defense lawyer, who is a very good lawyer, will probably come up with some motions to dismiss the second-degree charge, murder charge, based upon the deliberate withholding of information from a probable cause affidavit.
Now, is there any way, suppose this all gets thrown out, because everything I read, I still can't find anything as objective as I can possibly be, and I started out neutral on this until facts started coming out. Is there any way Zimmerman recovers any of the financial losses and everything from this prosecutor's complete disregard for his rights and the law?
Florida statute will only let's assume that Zimmerman wins, not guilty.
Okay.
The only thing that he can get back is his costs. He cannot get back attorney's fees.
Okay.
Let's assume that the judge, during the trial, there's phases of the trial where the state goes first and they put on their evidence and they rest. At that juncture, the defense attorney makes a motion for judgment of acquittal. And you have to look at the facts in the most favorable light to the state. Well, if the judge sees, well, my God, this is in second degree. This is more like negligent homicide or some other type of charge, aggravated battery, I mean, just whatever it is, the judge, in effect, is throwing out the second-degree murder charge.
Okay.
That is done on a motion for judgment of acquittal.
Okay.
And before the defense starts to put on their case.
Okay, now, based on your...
Even now, Zimmerman has won that charge, that case with respect to the second-degree murder at that juncture, if the judge grants the defense's motion.
Right.
Let's assume that the jury finds him guilty of something. He still won against the second-degree murder. He is entitled to get his costs back.
Okay.
Not legal fees.
Right.
Costs of investigators, cost of subpoenas, transcripts of depositions, or subpoena costs. All those he can get back.
So even though there's clear prosecutorial misconduct, she's immune.
That's for motions. That's for motions done during the trial and afterwards, after the judgment of acquittal and stuff like that. Now let's assume that Zimmerman wins, not guilty, and he says, "I'm going to sue the state of Florida for prosecutorial misconduct or something." The state is limited to $100,000 to what you can get. So if you go to trial on a civil suit against the state and you win, let's say you win a verdict of $2 million, $3 million. Well, guess what you're going to get? $100,000. Then you have to go to the legislature and request the monies. Well, there's no money in the state of Florida, so you're not going to get anything else.
So this man is being, in my opinion, sacrificed as part of a race war to drum up a race war and to be made an example of.
Yes. David, like you, I started neutral on this. And I remember the first piece of evidence that started to come out, you told me about him having a relation or a Hispanic wife who is black, who I didn't even know he was Hispanic at first.
Right. Well, to me, the most telling was the way he repeatedly slammed into Trayvon Martin's fists with his face.
Correct.
Now, okay, is this a case you would take, that you would try? You'd be willing to be the defense attorney for?
Yes, I've tried first degree murder cases. I've tried death penalty cases. So, I've been in bigger cases than this. This is a second degree murder case.
Right, but I mean, would you feel good about this, about defending this guy?
Absolutely, I would feel good about this. Now, the problem is, where are you going to get a fair trial? The media has been all over this case and will be during the course of these proceedings. So now the defense has to make a determination to make a motion to change venue based upon the media, because he may not be able to get a fair trial. He may be able to get a fair trial, and you may waive that. I don't know what I'm not there seeing what the view of how people are viewing this locally to get a fair jury. Now, some judges may say, "I understand your motion. I'm to deny it at the present time, but I'm going to keep it open during jury selection to see how the jury selection process comes out, if they can be fair and impartial."
Okay,
now say you're absolutely right and change the venue.
Now, during the defense, is the defense not going to bring out the original officer who didn't want to arrest him, the original state attorney who didn't want to? All that's going to come out, right?
Exculpatory evidence will come out. How long they took to arrest him. Every piece of exculpatory evidence, I assure you that attorney is good enough to bring it out.
So he's got a good attorney.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he's got a good attorney.
Okay. I mean, this seems to me that George Zimmerman almost is everyman right now for all of us.
Oh, yes. That's exactly what now. This is what I've been telling you for years. The only way we as lawyers, criminal defense lawyers, can protect people's rights, that's why I call us freedom's last champions, because we are protecting everyone's rights through these individuals that are charged with crimes.
Okay, Juan, we've got just about 30 seconds left, so that's all we're going to be able to talk about Zimmerman today, but there'll be other opportunities as I'm sure this goes on. It's important, though, for Americans to take their jury duty seriously and go and render a fair verdict. So now, Think about that while we're on our break. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio on the Overseas Radio Network. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies Radio on the Overseas Radio Network, and I'm joined by telephone by our U.S. injustice expert, Florida defense attorney Juan Torres. And we're going to now change the subject a little bit, broaden it out to police state America, the paranoid style of American governance. Americans traditionally have comforted themselves in the belief that they live in a democracy with a government that's rational, responsible, and accommodates their needs. But what happens when Americans begin to have deep suspicions and conspiratorial fantasies toward the government that's supposed to protect and preserve them? The New York Times Health Guide explains a prevailing symptom of what they call paranoid personality disorder as being, quote, highly suspicious of other people. Those afflicted, quote, often feel that they are in danger and look for evidence to support their suspicions. People with this disorder have trouble seeing that their distrustfulness is out of proportion to their environment. Other symptoms include concern that other people have hidden motives, expectations that they will be exploited by others, inability to work together with others, detachment, and hostility. U.S. legislation exhibiting undue suspiciousness toward allegedly strange others suggests how the paranoid style has thoroughly changed American governance, particularly over the last 10 years, and an especially strong set of symptoms is evidenced by the avalanche of new laws, programs, and executive orders dating from the 9/11 incident. Now, what do you think of that, Juan, and how much truth is there?
Well, this is a more political question than a legal one, David, but what I see is I agree with this article in that after 9/11, our response to creating, drafting, ratifying laws that take more of our rights away has increased tenfold. And, of course, they're saying that this is as a result of 9/11 because we want to protect our borders, we want to protect our people. But I believe it's more of a ruse. I believe that Bush was bad and this guy is even worse, like you have said, in using these new laws to really abrogate our rights and take away our freedoms.
Well, even based on your law school mindset, where they indoctrination. Thank you. That's the word. Do you think that the President of the United States has a constitutional right to order the murder of people without any judicial intervention?
No.
How about to detain them and arrest them by the military inside the United States without habeas corpus?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% of that. You cannot take habeas corpus away. It is a right given to us, conferred upon us by the United States Constitution.
So does due process, do you know of any case where due process completely ignores the judicial system and is vested solely in the executive authority?
Well, there are cases, David, where they have charged military men and females with stealing or giving false information out to other governments, and when these people have these individuals who have been charged, actually arrested and charged, have tried to defend themselves in court. If it is a matter of state security, secret to protect us, they are not allowed to use it as a defense. They are not allowed to obtain that information, and they are not allowed to present it as a defense.
So they cannot really face their accuser then.
Exactly. So due process is gone.
But you still, at least you said in a court, even a military court is still a judicial process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, it's still a judicial process.
Yes.
Is there any case law that says the President of the United States can say, okay, David Finzer is a threat to the United States, I want him killed?
Well, now there isn't. We have laws that have been enacted that allows the president to do this. Now, whether there are cases out there, it's going to start coming forward because people are going to be appealing, and people are going to be going into courts and filing lawsuits based on violations of their civil rights.
Right, but isn't the established case law all the way back to the war between the states the fact that the government can't do this when the courts are in session, that they can't use the military?
No, they can't. They can't. There is case law to that effect. I don't remember the names now, but there is case law to that effect. But things have changed. After 9/11, look at the laws that have been passed.
Well, I agree.
One or two. It's been a tremendous amount of laws that give the president an incredible amount of power. Way above what our forefather, the writers of the Constitution even thought about.
Right, and even more than FDR exercised during the Second World War.
Exactly. I was just going to say more than FDR exercised during the Second World War. And our founders did not intend for any one person to have that type of power within our government.
So, in fact, in summary, Obama has, in fact, violated his oath of office.
Well, I don't know about his oath of office. They're violating our Constitution.
Well, he swears to uphold, protect, and defend it.
And he swears to uphold and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Right, which does not include creating kill lists.
Yes, it does not include that.
So, I mean, this
David, this has been secretly going on forever. This is not the first president who's had a kill list. I'll bet you Nixon's local kill list was bigger than this president's world kill list.
Well, maybe, but he didn't brag about it. I mean, this is like like I said in the first hour, this is like the Reichstag did to Hitler. I mean, Hitler was elected, and the Reichstag just said, okay, you have all the power.
Some of these laws remind me of the law in Cuba, where they would have in your neighborhood one house that was in agreement with the current government, communist government, and they're watching everybody else.
Sure. The block chairman.
Is to watch and snitch on every other family in their neighborhood. And this is what they're creating in some of these acts.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the difference between Castro, either one of them, ordering someone killed, and Obama ordering someone killed?
Right now, there isn't any difference. I mean, they're calling for people to in this Communities Against Terrorism program, where people are to spy on their fellow workers. There's no difference than the neighborhood watch list office.
I mean, it's just creating. It strikes me as Nazi Germany.
Exactly right. When you read that, that's exactly right. What it is.
And you say, and you say quite rightly, the last defense are the defense attorneys and the juries. But if you completely circumvent the judicial system, then you take away that last defense, and we all, in fact, become serfs, people without rights, subject to the whim of the king.
Exactly. Now we're not at the front lines anymore, or at the front of the rear, which is what we take. We are completely out of it. So the people have to do something about it. The people have the power of the vote.
Well, they have the power of the vote, and they have other things, too. I mean, remember this document. You know these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Now, it seems to me like we're drawing awfully close to a country that's in the same situation or a worse situation than the colonies were when that document, the Declaration of Independence, was written.
Independence. Yes.
Except instead of a tyrant 3,000 miles away, we have a slew of tyrants sitting on the Potomac River and across our whole country.
But David, this would have happened. These laws would have happened whether it was the Democrats, Obama, or the Republicans of Bush or anyone else. These laws would have happened. It started with Bush. I
agree. I despise George Bush.
Yeah,
and
it started with Bush, and it's just continued. So there's no deviation here in what we the people want. It's what they want, whether it's Democrat or Republican.
Okay, with that one, we're out of time, and I'm sorry. This is a great conversation. I'd love to keep going, but we have to. The clock is running, and I'll tell you, as we get closer to the election, we'll talk about this more. I thank you, Juan, for being on. Remember, you only really have three choices left. You can give up and let the government run your life and live like a serf, fight back in a civil war that you'll probably lose, or get out. This is David Finzer for Truth and Lies on the Overseas Radio Network.